Start over here on the right, Charlie.
Grant, Sharon said Monday that it was you over the headset who called that final play on that last offensive drive. Can you talk about what you saw that maybe made you think that play would work?
No, I mean, Coach Campbell and Coach Moore make the play calls. So obviously the points there, they ask for suggestions or things like that. But no, that was, it's a credit to Coach Moore and Coach Campbell and the players for Grant and executing.
Why was that the right call? I'm sorry, Dave.
I mean, I think we all, have confidence in everybody who's out there, and especially in a game like that where, the O-line is playing well, especially in the run game. You've got Clell who's running like a man possessed, and you're going to run behind the best fullback in college football. So I think we all were in agreement that, hey, if you're going to go down, you're going to go down trusting your guys, trusting your best players to do what they did best. So I was obviously very happy that we got in.
Last week, Iowa beat Minnesota with very few passing yards. Does that inspire any confidence that you guys could stick to this identity you've established and maybe have similar success?
Yeah, I mean, I think like in terms of identity, our identity is winning football games, and I think that we're all in alignment that we're going to do whatever it takes to win the football game. Obviously that game it was, hey, let's keep the ball on the ground and keep turning away yards. No different than it was in Penn State in 23. Even when JJ was back there, so I don't think it's a reflection on we don't want to pass the football or we can't pass the football. It's what that game called for, and at the end of the day, that's what it's about, and it's what we're about. As an offensive staff and Coach Campbell, leading us is scoring one more point and winning the game, and we had confidence that when it came down to it in that last drive, no matter what it took, we were going to be able to get the job done.
Right here in the front, Tony.
I'm not an offensive line coach and never claimed to be. So use a combination of eye test and then looking at like numbers post game to sort of get a sense of things. The numbers weren't great for Evan Link. I guess I'm wondering if you're thinking about a change there or what you've seen as someone who knows what's on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always something you look at. Every single week the best player is going to play, and he's gotten better. Week in, week out, and it's our job. It's my job to continuously make sure he gets the reps he needs and the practice he needs to make that improvement. But I mean, that's something you look at every single position, every single week. Making sure the best guys are out there, and that as a coach, I put them in the best position to succeed.
What have you thought about this first four weeks?
Yeah, I think obviously there's just like with any young lineman, just like when I was starting for the first time, like there's going to be growing pains, especially in that position. I've been encouraged that he's gotten better week in, week out, and obviously still not there yet, and he knows that. But we're just going to continue to push him, continue to make sure as a coaching staff, myself first and foremost, that we give him all the opportunities to continue to refine his technique and continue to get better.
Right behind Charles.
Yeah, you just called him the best fullback in college football. What makes Max such a great blocker, and why is he able to make those plays in crunch time?
Sure. I mean, first, fullback, a lot of it's mentality. I probably said this before when I was coaching him, but it's a different animal when you're staring at someone who's 5 yards away from you, and they're going to be running full speed at you, and you're going to be running full speed at them, and you've got to put your face on them. And something that even is different than blocking somebody in line or blocking somebody in the perimeter. It kind of takes someone who's got a couple screws loose to go out and not only do that, but love it and crave it like Max does. So it's a credit to him and his mentality, his preparation, obviously his physicality, and obviously Coach Kasula does a great job, working with not only him but all those tight ends in the run game and in the pass game.
Chris?
We've seen Jeff Percy play some good ball here, and Andrew Gentry was supposed to be the next guy. What did they not do to secure that job, or was Evan just better?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's I don't want to say it's anything they didn't do. Every week it's a collaborative, conversation amongst the coaching staff. Coach Moore, myself, Coach Campbell, certainly, of how you putting the best guys on the field. And if we think that there's an opportunity where multiple guys need to play, we're gonna play multiple guys. No, there's no. Every job is up for grabs every single week, which is the way it always has been here. It's the way it's going to continue to be. I mean, you saw that last year with Miles and Trente and Carson, and at times we were playing 2 and 3 tackles in a game, just because you're going to put the best players out there. Best players being who's had the best week of practice, who's had the best best preparation. You feel like we can go out there and give us the best chance to win.
At what point do you give them some help over there if the pass pro struggles continue?
Yeah, I mean, I think every week you make sure you're putting your guys in a position to to succeed. And again, that starts with me as a coach and making sure that those guys are in the best position possible.
On the left there, Isaiah.
Continuing that thought, where do you feel like this team is in terms of pass protection, and where do you think that they can go in kind of the short term?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's something we've got to continue to improve on week over week, and the hay's never in the barn, and we're not where we need to be at the end of the season, or obviously want to be at the end of the season, and we just got to make sure that every single week it gets better and better. In order for us to reach our goals as a team, that's obviously going to be a big part of it. So again, it starts with me and making sure that I'm doing everything possible to put them in good positions.
On the left there, Ryan.
Greg and Dom kind of in a unique situation where they're rotating through. How would you evaluate that center in competition so far? And is there anything you guys can do as coaches to maybe keep the one guy engaged when he's in the game and then on the sideline for a driver?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what I said earlier of we're going to play the best guy, that given week. And if we have two guys, we feel like it's been pretty close. You want to give them both opportunities for somebody to go out and clearly win the job. And if it's still close, we don't mind playing multiple guys. Again, no different than last year watching the Rutgers game this time last year, 4 different tackles played in that game. So it's the same mindset that if you got two guys who are both playing well enough and both are close in competition, you're gonna keep playing both.
Do they know which drives they're going to be in at, or is it something that?
Yeah, something we talk about with them, and obviously game flow will always impact things, but that's something we talk about with them, and they're aware of that. Hey, both guys are going to play this week, or versus, hey, we're starting one guy and he's rolling until something happens.
On the right, Reiner.
How does Alex Orji enhance the running game, and what does he do and what is his effect on the rest of the blocking unit, the running backs, everything?
Sure. I mean, I've never coached defense, but I can imagine it gives you another person to account for. If nothing else, even if it's a play where he's not reading somebody, the threat is there just because of how dynamic he is with the ball in his hand. So it's definitely an added layer for us, and he's a talented player running the football or not running the football. But I think it certainly doesn't hurt us, and it only makes us more multiple and gives us more avenues to attack a defense.
And how much does his athleticism also help mitigate maybe some of the pass protection issues, I guess, that develop, and how much was that factored in the calculus of making him the starter?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a question for Coach Moore about how much it calculated into him being the starting quarterback. But I mean, obviously athletic quarterbacks help. Gives you ability to kind of make plays right when stuff breaks down. But I think he's done a great job.
On the right, Aaron.
You guys were obviously able to break several long runs on Saturday, but you had several 3-and-outs and several short drives as a staff. How are you guys evaluating maybe the boom or bust nature of your offense on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. It comes down to making sure that as position coaches, we do everything possible to prepare them for looks you may get, and making sure they're able to execute their technique, and then it comes down to executing both. So it's kind of that dual nature of we got to do the best to prepare them we possibly can, because it starts with, for offense line, starts with me to make sure those guys are ready to go and have seen every possible look and are prepared for anything they may face. And then it's that marriage, and then going out and executing it. And I don't see this as a kind of boom or bust operation. It just happened that we broke some big runs that ended drives quickly. But obviously, you never want to go 3-and-out.
Angelique.
Grant, you mentioned that Max has a screw loose. Is that surprising? I mean, you said to play what he's doing. But that he played quarterback, and quarterbacks are, tend to be even keel guy, that he developed this, or is that just who he is?
I think it's just who he is. I didn't watch much of his quarterback film when he's coming out of high school, but I imagine there was a lot of physicality there too. But I mean, again, I've said this before, but just the fact that he gets here and first thing he asks is, hey, can I go play special teams? Can I go do get on the field? How can I contribute? He's wired the exact way you'd want. Not just a fullback, but a football player and a captain. To be a leader of his teammates. He's got everything you'd want.
And he's got a screw loose.
Yeah, in a good way. That's a compliment.
No.
Compliment.
And sort of piggybacking off of the questions you've had, I mean, Jim talked about this last year about having a rally group on the offensive line. Is that, I mean, could you see offenses going to that at some point where you're rotating guys in regularly?
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly teams that do it. It's less common than obviously in the defensive line, but there are teams across country who will, sub 2 or 3 linemen at a time, or it's more rare, but sub 5 linemen at a time. And it just comes down to, every week we're evaluating as coaches, who gives us the best chance to play. And if there's 2 guys we think, have earned the right to both play in a game, then we're going to do so. And I think it's something that, Coach Moore's, made clear through it, and I firmly believe in as well that, I don't think there's any kind of lack of chemistry or reason not to play multiple guys. If multiple guys, have earned the right to play.
I mean, and you mentioned the chemistry. Is that sort of overrated? People have always talked about the offensive line have to have that chemistry. Is that, obviously they have it, but does it have to be strictly 5 anymore?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we proved last year you can do it with more than one, and it's no different than, hey, if a guy gets hurt, the next guy's be able to go and step up. So, it's my job as a coach and our job as coaches at all our positions to make sure that, guys get to know each other, but if we're going to play multiple guys are getting ready. So, it's no different than last week. Both centers took first team reps. So, both guards are comfortable with both centers. Both centers are comfortable with both guards, and so on and so forth. So, I haven't felt like there's any kind of drop off one way or another, depending on who's in the game at center.
You sure she's done?
I'm not, but I'll stop.
Tony?
Yeah, Grant, just another one of your favorite questions about the pass versus the run. Obviously, I mean, Sharon was saying it, and you're saying it, I mean, just do what the game calls for, right? We just got to win. But I wonder what proof there is that you guys can win in the opposite way, right? Pass, I mean, currently 18th in the Big Ten passing. There's hasn't been a ton of.
I mean, we did win the national championship last year.
I mean, with this year's roster.
I mean, it's, I guess, to be determined. But I know I trust all of our guys. I trust our coaches. I think we're going to do what the game calls for, like I said. And I guess the only evidence I can give you is that there were people saying this last year after Penn State, that we won't be able to beat Ohio State doing this. You won't be able to win the Big Ten championship. It's not going to work for Alabama. And we did what the game called for. Coach Moore called the game as it needed to be called. Coach Campbell's going to call the game as it needs to be called. So I'm not trying to be smart in my response, but it's the reality. Like, I don't think anyone in this building cares about how sexy something looks. Cares about if it works or not. If it doesn't work, then as coaches we got to reevaluate it and make sure it does. But I mean, if we win every game throwing for 500 yards and have 2 yards of rushing, I'll be happy we won the game. If we rush for 300 yards again and have 32 yards because that's what the game called for, I think we'll be pretty happy too because we're winning games.
But I guess in the same way, not saying any, just equally as respectfully. I mean, but with this group, I don't know. I mean, does it look wildly different behind closed doors? Because it just, from what we've seen, it doesn't look like there's a passing game that can win it if you had to.
I mean, I think it's hard to say that just because we haven't had a game where it's really kind of required that with the USC game last year or last week. I feel like we were in a position where we felt comfortable with how the run game was going, and I think Texas is kind of a hard one to evaluate because we put ourselves so far behind the 8 ball early in that game. But no, I mean, I don't think anyone in the building has a lack of confidence in either ability to pass the football or run the football.
Clayton?
You guys talked in the spring, you and Kirk, about how high Miles' ceiling is. Is he starting to kind of live up to that, and how would you assess how he's played?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think every NFL scout who comes in the building says the same thing. He's got all the tools, and I think it's become more and more consistent. And the challenge for him is the challenge for everybody is, if you're a player of that caliber, it's got to be 95% of your snaps look like it, and maybe 5 don't, and then 96, then 97. So that's been the challenge for from us to him is just continue to look like the incredibly high end player you are every single snap and challenge yourself to do that. And I think he's embracing that challenge, and I think he's done that more consistently than he did at times last year. And now the challenge is to continue that.
Alejandro?
From an offensive coach's perspective, how feasible is it to maybe change offensive identity midstream? Say, like if you're trying to install a read option offense, is that doable midseason, or does that have to be planned?
I think the great thing about our offense is there's very few schemes we don't have. It's just 1 week you may not see it. So it's in there. It's in there. It's stuff we work on in training camp. I mean, stuff we work on in spring practice. So it's just, again, I think, I don't want to say the term gets overused, but I think sometimes like the idea of like a offensive identity of we're this team, well, that's great until that's not working, and sometimes the game calls for something that different than what you might have even had the idea of what it was going to be going in. And I think that again it comes back to as players first and foremost, like they're unselfish. That's what the game called for versus USC, and that's what we went out and executed. So I think that's just, that's our plan moving forward, right? Is obviously, you want to make sure you win every single game.
Last question, we'll go to Chris.
Minnesota got gashed on the ground last week. Is that a little bit of fool's gold from what you've seen on film in terms of what they can do defensively up front?
I mean, they're a good team. Corey does a great job coaching those guys. A lot of pressure, a lot of movement. I mean, they're gonna challenge you not only just in terms of physicality, but also scheme. Obviously, it's a good scheme. It's a scheme that they're familiar with in that building. Even having a new play caller this year, but obviously, Coach Heatherman's been in the Big Ten for a little while now, and has been a part of good defenses. So it's going to be a challenge, and there's no one in this building is taking it lightly or looking at they gave up this or they gave up that. Like they're a good team, and it's going to be a challenge just like last week was. And I think that that's something that we've challenged the guys, and I think they've met that challenge of we got to approach it the same every single week.
How much more of a challenge is it for your guys when teams are scheming to stop the run and bringing guys into the box like that?
Yeah, I mean it's something we take pride in, that teams can scheme it, and obviously everyone's kind of got a plan. USC in the third quarter was to go to cover zero every single play, and obviously I do a good job making sure that the guys are ready for that and making adjustments when that shows up. But at the end of the day, it's a point of pride for us. I mean, you look at the USC game, we're on the 18-yard line. I think they probably had a good idea of running the football. We had a good idea of running the football, and then it comes down to pride. That hey, if you know what I'm about to do, can I still go do it? Can I go still move a man against his will, and get us 4 or 5 yards? Can I get the back 3 yards of space or whatever we averaged, before he gets touched? And then they let him go make that extra man miss. And I think we all have faith in our offensive line to be able to do that, and our backs certainly to make that extra guy miss.